What up, Mikey's crew? It's your good pal Michael here. Good friend, whatever, doesn't matter.
I'm taking honors.
It's all the same. Here, let me. I got a piece of paper here.
Mine's still the case. Yeah, my friends were the
We're at the 2016 Kalamazoo Runner Banquets Club Championship.
Run to our home.
That's where we're at. It's social time right now.
Summer running. Me and my
Having a
friend went,
cupcake.
friend's house
Chocolate.
for our run, and then
Kathleen's got, what do you got?
Red velvet.
Red velvet.
Went to where?
so in our summer
So
running,
throughout
me and my friend
the night we'll show some
the other guy's house,
moments
and then we got his little sister to wake him up.
throughout the banquet. So me getting an award, and we'll show some video footage of some other things happening tonight as well. So stay tuned. It should be fun.
Brother to say truck.
Got the Cubs hat on, by the way, too.
First place is Michael Loudon. He ran 12 races, 743.5 points. So congratulations, Michael.
I might be a little long-winded up here, just to let you know. Anyways, the two pictures, the one on the right is from the Winter Blast, and that was very non-winter-like, I might add as well. Kind of overdressed for that race. But I came through with an hour and 38 minutes and some change for that race. That was my best half marathon, and that was training for the one on the left, my first ever marathon, the Kalamazoo Marathon. And I finished it, which was good. 3 hours and 45 minutes and some change for that as well. But at about the 18-mile mark, I hit the wall. The proverbial wall hit me, and the last 8 miles was a lot of walking and running, but I was able to get there to the finish, which was great. And then the rest of the season I did 5K running. My marathon legs, it took a while for them to wear off, but I did end up getting 20 minutes and 24 seconds twice at the Classic and the Raider Stomp. And then I was hoping to get faster times after that, but then I fell off my bike and broke my radial bone in my left arm. And I tried running, but there was a throbbing pain in my arm, so I had to take 6 weeks off. But I was looking forward to getting back. As soon as the doctor cleared me, I got back to running, and I got 10 runs in before the Peacock strut, and I ran like 3 miles, I think, twice. And I was struggling. I was like 8:30 to like 9 minutes per mile for me, and usually for an easy run, it's about 8 minutes a mile for me. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do during this race, but somehow I came through with like a 23-minute, 36-second race, so that was way under 8 minutes per mile. I don't know how I did it, but I did. But looking forward to next season doing a lot of 5K races, going to just do the shorter distances next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It seems whenever runners try a different...
So after the awards, we had what was that? A
raffle.
We had a raffle. I didn't win. Well, technically I did. I'll explain that in just a minute. But Kathleen's number was called, and so she got a sleeveless Kalamazoo Runner singlet.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that?
Next year I'm going to start running with Michael. Hopefully if it doesn't break his arm again.
Yeah, we're not going to go through that again next year. Hopefully it's going to be completely injury-free.
Yeah.
So, like I said, technically I didn't win, but I did get a Kalamazoo Marathon hat. I saw them up on the table, and I was like, if my number gets called, I would like one of those because, you know, I ran in the marathon, and it's like, hey, it's appropriate for me to wear that hat. Well, the other Michael, his number got called, but nothing like was in his size up there. So he decided, I'm just like, hey, Michael, grab the hat. And he did. He brought it back and he gave it to me. That was really, really nice. He didn't have to do that, but he did. It was really nice of him. So now I have a Kalamazoo Marathon hat, and it's kind of like the Kalamazoo Runners hat that I won last year. That everybody got kind of as an award if they finished first, second, or third in their age group. Feels the same material too. It'll be great to wear that run on like some rainy days so my head doesn't get wet. Well, Mikey's crew, you just heard me talk about my two biggest races of the year, that being the Kalamazoo Marathon and the Portage Winter Blast. Portage Winter Blast was more of a training run, just to kind of get myself ready for the Kalamazoo Marathon. The Kalamazoo Marathon obviously was the biggest race of the year. They were the two longest races I competed in this year. And as you heard, the marathon didn't go exactly as planned. You know,
18 miles in, I hit the wall. And being the first marathon, you know, maybe it's good to get that kind of bad experience out of the way, of hitting the wall. Because when I do my next one, then when it comes to mile 18, maybe I won't have to worry about hitting the wall. It might cross my mind a little bit, but next time I'll just be like, okay, just keep pushing, just keep chugging. But at that point during the race, like, my back was really hurting me. I think it was because the shoes I were wearing was pretty worn down. So let's talk about the rest of my running season now, which did not go exactly as planned. So just keep that in mind when, you know, if you guys decide to, or gals, decide to take up a sport, whether that be running or some other type of sport, the season always isn't going to go as you planned. Things are going to happen, as you're going to find out with my running. So after the Kalamazoo Marathon, I think it was the next weekend, was the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure, which was held down at Mayor's Riverfront Park, right where the Growlers play. And we started out on the baseball field, and then we started heading out toward the parking lot, and then kind of by the road, and then we ended up taking a path, and we thought we were taking the path like way down there. Instead, we ended up turning around really early, and I was like, okay, after looking at the course, this is not how far we went. Finished the race and only ran 12 minutes and 46 seconds. Now, that's not a 5K time. It was less than about 2 miles. Or maybe it was just a little around 2 miles, but it was definitely short. So now my first 5K of the season didn't even turn into my first 5K, so that was pretty awkward. But my first real 5K ended up being the K5K, which was the week before Memorial Day. That took place in Spring Valley Park. And I ran a time of 20:51, which was definitely slower than what I've done for that race before. But coming off the marathon, I think my legs were kind of just, still had that marathon speed to them. You know, they had all those miles on them still. And I was kind of, you know, working, you know, I was just running those smaller miles at that point. And so my legs were still trying to work off all the marathon miles I had. Next race I ran was the Run to Climax 7K, which took place on Memorial Day out in the town of Climax, a small town out there. And that was a one of those weird kind of distance races, but I always enjoy doing it. Basically, you know, it starts with a shotgun, if you've seen that video, and then you end up basically it's a farming town, so you run around like a farm area and then end up back finishing by the church in town. Now, the race did not go as planned for me as well. The first mile was really good time-wise, but after that, the miles kind of slowed down. I did speed it up a little bit back in the last mile. I don't think that had anything to do with my marathon legs that day, though. I think that had to do with the heat. It was really hot, it was humid, and the first mile too, you're actually running directly into the sun. So I think the heat and humidity kind of affected me that day. So I didn't end up running my greatest time out there. It wasn't a bad time. I think it was the slowest time I'd ever had out there, but I've only ran it like 3 times. I still did end up getting a medal, so that all worked out okay. And then I ran the Otsego Rotary Run 5K. And that was the first race where I could tell my marathon legs were finally starting to go away. I ran a time of 20 minutes and 38 seconds, and which was a good time. This was the first time I'd ever done this race. We started right down on Otsego's track, and then we headed out of the stadium and we ran through the streets of Otsego. And there was some construction going on, but we avoided that. And there was this guy who was trying to pass me during one of the miles, and I ended up like staying up with him during like the first mile. I ended up staying with him like the rest of the race, and I could tell my speed and stamina were definitely starting to become more of that geared toward the 5Ks. And when I crossed the line, I was really happy with my time of 20:38. The guy that I was trying to stay with ended up finishing a few seconds in front of me, and when he came back into the stadium too, you had to do 2 laps around the track, so you actually had to pass the finish line and then go back again, which can be mentally and psychologically tough on you. Then the next race was the Kalamazoo Mud Run. That was just a fun race. It was an untimed event this year. Many different obstacles. I would say that each year that course gets a lot tougher, a lot more challenging, but it's not challenging where you feel like you can't do it. It's challenging where it feels good to do those, to do all those obstacles. And then when you're done, you feel like, hey, I accomplished something. And I don't know what my exact time was. I know it's obviously it's slow with all the obstacles. I kind of take my time on the obstacles. I know some people, race to get over them, but with it being an untimed event, I didn't want to, wear myself out in the first mile, because it's been that before where I've done the mud run and just wore myself out immediately and then struggled really within the second mile, but then the third mile, of course, I didn't struggle in because I had regained my stamina back by that point. Then the next race was the Kalamazoo Classic 5K. This is probably my favorite race of the year because it is on the fastest course, and that is going down. Basically, the whole race is kind of flat, and you get downhills in there. I don't think there might be one, or there might be two uphills during the entire race. But the first mile is completely flat with the downhill. The second mile, when you have to run by the country club, yeah, there's maybe a rolling hill there, and then right before you get to the 3 mile mark, you have to go up a little hill. But then the whole last mile is downhill to the finish line, which can produce some really fast times. In fact, there was one year where I was trying to break 20 minutes, for the first time ever, and I almost broke 19 minutes as well, as I got 19:08, which is my fastest time ever. So 2024, great improvement from my other times that season. It looked like I was going to be getting back to the point of breaking 20 minutes in this season. Then I took a break from the 5Ks, ran the Myers State Games up in Grand Rapids. It's something I do every year. It's a track and field event. Of course, the Myers State Games encompasses every sport. It's kind of like an Olympic-style event where you got all these different sports. Track and field is one of them. I competed in the mile and the half mile, 2:37 and the half. The half is not my greatest event because it involves kind of a mix between speed and distance running, and speed just isn't my thing. 2:35 is my best in there, so I was a couple seconds off. The mile I was 5:51, so I was really happy with that, once again to break 6, but I always seem to hit 5:51. I did it in high school too. Like I got 5:48 one time, and then I got 5:51 like the last 3 meets of the season. I think the last year I did this, I was 5:51 as well, so it's like I just can't get below 5:51. I don't know what it is. Then we did the In-Stride 5K on the 4th of July here in Richland. Finished in the top 10 with a time of 20:32. Everything was looking, really good. And then Steve's Raider Stomp down in Decatur with a time of 20:24 to tie my Kalamazoo Classic time. I finished in the top 10 as well. Did not get a medal. I was 4th in my age group. There was actually a guy from London, England, who beat me. I couldn't believe it. It's like this guy came all the way from London to beat me. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case, but it was just kind of a funny incident that ended up happening. And that was like the last race I was able to do in a fast time after that, because I ended up falling off my bike and breaking my radial bones, slightly cracking it, I would say, in my left arm. And I couldn't run because when I tried, it was like a throbbing pain in my arm. And so I had to take 6 weeks off because of that. So I didn't get any more fast times in, really. I did walk the Allegan Strides for Health, time of 39 minutes and 12 seconds. And then my first race back was the Peacock Strut. You heard me talk about that a little bit as well. That was 23:26 was my time for that race. And it was funny because going up into that, I had like 10 total days of running, all 2 mile days except for 1 3 mile day. And I was like, usually when I run easy times, it's around 8 minutes per mile. I was like around 8:30, 9 minutes a mile. I was like really struggling to get that stamina back. And so I kind of wondered during this race, number one, I don't think I'm ready for it. And number two, this could be a day where I just struggle immensely. But we got going. I don't know. It must have been being around everybody or being back at a race. But that first mile, I was under 8 minutes. And I was under 8 minutes for every single mile, which really surprised me. And I came across the line at a time of 23:26. really happy with that, and I walked away with a second place age group award. Then I did the WMU Campus Classic. That race didn't go really well for me. It was a really cold morning, and we had been going back and forth weather-wise between cold weather and warm weather, so it was hard. You couldn't get really used to running in that cold weather. And we had like a couple of warm days right before it, and my lungs take time to adjust to that cold air. And I said I was going to take that first half mile up, because we had to run up toward the Bernhard Center. Like that first half mile was just going to take really slowly. And I did, and then I started to pick up my pace, as we had a big downhill after that. But I just couldn't get anything going during the race. 24:07 was my time as I crossed the line. That was like 4 minutes slower than last year. So sometimes things like that are going to happen, everybody. You're going to have to just, you're not going to run your best every single race. You just got to say, okay, that result happened, learn from it, and move on. And basically, as Coach PJ Fleck would say, keep rowing the boat no matter what happens. Then I ran the Jack-O-Lantern run. That was the weekend of Halloween, and I did a 22:56 for that race. First time I'd actually ran this race, as I was supposed to run it last year, but I hurt my knee like the week of the race. So it was my first time doing it. It was a lot of fun. We were out on the trail system out in Portage, and it was an out and back course. So you could like see other runners that were still coming out on your way in, and I was passing runners like left and right, and I got I think it was second place in my age group, so that was really great to walk away with an award from there. And then I did the Impact Trail Run 5K, which was on not the same course, but some course similar to the Mud Run out at Kalamazoo Community Church. 25:54 is my time. I started out a little too fast in that first mile, felt really winded, but the third mile came around, which was completely flat, was able to gain my stamina back, and there was like this lady that was maybe 20 or so seconds behind me. I'm like, I'm not letting her catch me, so I was just making sure that I was keeping my pace the rest of the race. And then the last race I did was the Kalamazoo Area Runners Turkey Trot Prediction Run, which I said I was going to get 23:55. I wasn't just going to run an easy race. I got 23:15 instead, so I felt pretty good during the race too. Out at Portage West Middle School, running on the same course I ran on multiple times for the Portage Invitational, and ended up starting a little bit farther in the back, past a lot of runners during the race. That made me feel pretty good, and then came into the line hard as well. So that was a great race and a great way to end the season. So if any of you are interested in running or doing any other sports, just get out there and do them. And just know injuries are part of it. I mean, I've been pretty lucky. I've only got injured like a few times and haven't really been out for too long of a time. So it's going to be great next year. Looking forward to doing a lot of 5K races, shorter distances. So I'm going to try to work on my speed and get my time back below 20 minutes. So let's head back out to Michael now at the Lawrence Education Center out of Borges to finish up this video. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing part of the banquet, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to my running recap as well for part of the season. So that concludes the running season for me. So we'll talk to you again next year for another running season. Hopefully it's starting January 1st with the 1-1 run. So thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel for more content. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. Until next time, this is Michael out and over and out. Mikey's crew, you guys are the best. Take care, and I'll talk to you, all you runners, again next season in 2017, hopefully on New Year's Day. Take care.